The house at Sydney Cove. Prologue. Before it could call itself government, the colony needed a house, not a flag, not a proclamation, not a speech about destiny. A house. Because power does not become durable when it arrives. It becomes durable when it acquires an interior. At Sydney Cove, government had to stop being a landing and become a room. Once that room existed, occupation could begin to pass as routine. And once that happens, a person brought inside no longer enters only a building. He enters a system. Act 1. The house as apparatus. The first government house was never merely a residence. It functioned at once as home, office, place of entertainment, and visible seat of British authority. That combination matters. It means the house did not separate private life from official life. It fused them. Administration lived where the governor slept. Power worked at the same table where meals were served. Its material form already says what kind of colony this was. The building was set into sandstone bedrock. It was made from locally fired bricks, pipe clay mortar, imported glass, oyster shell lime, and labor extracted under colonial command. Before the house began functioning as government, it had already absorbed one of the colony's governing facts. Authority depended on controlled bodies, turning raw ground into usable order. Its placement was not incidental. The earlier canvas dwelling had already occupied the eastern side of the tank stream, but the more durable house preserved the same logic. The governor's residence was where the settlement could see itself arranged around authority. Before laws could become normal, space had to do part of the work. By June 1789, the house was complete enough to be occupied. Phillip administered the colony from there, dealt with its daily crises there, and entertained officers and visitors there. The garden flourished. The grounds were watched. Produce circulated by order. These are not decorative details. They are the texture of rule. Government is not only decree and punishment. The house at Sydney Cove did not merely represent the colony. It taught the colony how authority lived. Act 2. The house reveals its function. In November 1789, Bennelong and Colby were abducted at Manly on Phillip's orders and taken to Government House. Colby escaped. Bennelong remained there for months. That event matters because it reveals what the house could do. Bennelong was not taken into a dungeon. He was taken into government. He was held at the center of British authority in the new colony, inside the same complex that housed official decision, hosted dinners, and staged administrative order. The same place that received visitors could also contain a captive. The same structure that presented civility could also absorb coercion. The building permits it. That is the point the house makes visible. Colonial power does not always appear first as open destruction. Often it appears as managed proximity. A person is brought close, kept within reach, observed, instructed, interpreted. The house converts seizure into arrangement. Inside that arrangement, roles begin to overlap. Detainee, intermediary, curiosity, political instrument, prospective translator. The categories do not remain separate, because the structure can hold them all at once. Later, after Bennelong's escape, and after Phillip was speared at Manly in 1790, the terms of contact shifted. Bennelong returned to the settlement under different conditions, sometimes with family and companions, and at times again lived within the orbit of Government House. That complexity does not dissolve the structure, it reveals it. A prison is easy to identify. A residence is harder. A residence can hold someone near power without always needing chains. It can transform force into etiquette. It can soften asymmetry with meals, access, routine, and conversation. The house does not remove violence. It domesticates its appearance. Act 3. Theatre of Rule. By the time Bennelong returned under more negotiated terms, the house had become a stage on which the colony could perform a story about itself. No longer only the site of captivity, it could now present itself as the place where relations were being managed, where authority appeared patient, orderly, and civil. But proximity is not equality. Shared space is not shared power. The house looks domestic, and domestic settings encourage sentimental error. One sees meals, visits, conversation, and begins to imagine reciprocity, yet everything in the setting insists otherwise. It is Philip's house, Philip's ground, Philip's routine, Philip's officers, Philip's table. Even generosity there is structured from above. This is what the house teaches about colonial government in its early form. Rule is not only enforced at the edge of a weapon, it is also cultivated indoors. It is rehearsed through invitation, access, managed encounter, and the transformation of other people into knowable subjects of administration. Once that process begins, architecture becomes an accomplice. Walls do not merely enclose action, they organize meaning. The first government house organized one of the colony's foundational meanings, that British authority could present itself as lawful, settled, and civil, while resting on seizure, confinement, and dispossession. The house did not conceal that contradiction. It housed it. Epilogue. Today, the site of the first government house survives through excavation and preservation at the Museum of Sydney. The structure is gone. The logic is not. The house mattered because it gave occupation an address. It allowed rule to become daily before it became unquestioned. The house at Sydney Cove did not merely shelter power. It trained it into habit.